Welcome everyone to the first of many summit breakout sessions. We are very excited to kick off the afternoon with a session from our folks at Cleveland Water Alliance and the Erie Hack competition. So you are in the Erie Hack Generating Tech Solutions for Lake Erie's Greatest Challenges breakout session. The session will go for an hour. Just a couple quick housekeeping pieces that I want to share with everybody. First and foremost, we are excited to thank our host, the Cleveland Public Library, for allowing us to use the Hop-In platform to hold the summit. It's been really helpful and allowed us to do a lot of different things in a virtual environment. Additionally, I just want to point out a couple of things. If you look to the top right corner of your session view, you can minimize some of the chat. It will help with some of your viewing, especially if any of our presenters have presentations. It does give you a little bit better view of the overall presentations themselves. Additionally, we encourage you to use the chat box for any comments or questions. If you are not a presenter, your camera is going to be off. So we will you'll remain in the background and only our presenters will be on camera or speaking. Additionally, you can change your view. Again, this is for your PowerPoints or to view any presentations or PowerPoints. There's some buttons in the top screen, and then also in the bottom corner here, in some views, there is also a little box to make it full screen view. And finally, I just want to remind all of you, please continue to connect with Sustainable Cleveland. If you are posting anything about the summit, please use the hashtag SustainableCLE. Here's all of our different handles. If you're not already connected with us, would love to get that going. With that, I am excited to turn it over to Felicio Antoro from the Cleveland Water Alliance, who is going to introduce our Erie Hack presenters and go and share some slides with you. So I'll turn it over to you. Thanks.
Thank you, Kristen. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen now and just share a little bit about Erie Hack. So Erie Hack is a program of the Cleveland Water Alliance. We are a technology innovation cluster based right here out of Northeast Ohio. And ever since our first Erie Hack in 2017 and the iteration in 2019, our vision for Erie Hack is to bring together teams of creatives, coders, engineers, water experts, entrepreneurs, and anyone who has stake in the lake to create tech solutions that solve some of Lake Erie's most pressing issues. And we really want to leverage the potential innovation ecosystem around water right here in Cleveland. And we really see it as putting our region's technical talent to work for our most precious natural resource. It's an opportunity to spur creative new tech solutions, to forge new connections, and to start building out that water tech ecosystem across the Lake Erie Basin. It's truly a regional effort. Erie Hack efforts in each of these focus cities are driven by a local team of anchor institutions in both academic and entrepreneurial spaces. And in the past, we've had events in all of those cities in the United States and Canada. And Erie Hack is presented by the Northeast Ohio Regional Sewer District, the first solar giving community fund of the Greater Toledo Community Foundation. It's supported by OHM advisors, and we couldn't do this without our local champions that include Techtown Detroit, Midstory, which is out of Toledo, the Blackstone Launchpad at the University of Buffalo, and the We Tech Alliance out of Windsor. So we're able to, come up with these solutions by starting with some of our greatest challenges. These challenges were derived from a series of ideation sessions or creative idea generation sessions that were facilitated by Cleveland Water Alliance and the NASA Glenn Research Center. In In 2019, we had 7 challenge statements, and those were created to provide inspiration and direction for participating innovators, especially around Lake Erie's most pressing problems. And this year, these are the 3 that we've broadened the statements to. Our 3 key focus areas are community water resources, surface water quality, water and wastewater infrastructure. And some of the solutions we've previously gotten from these solutions include Water Watcher, which is a texting alert and reporting service for real-time information exchange between utilities and residents without internet access. Then that was from a Buffalo team in 2017. And then CC Tronic around surface water quality. It created an IoT application for a system of smart and connected valves and filters to intelligently clean runoff from drainage tiles on farms. And then finally, for the Water and Wastewater Infrastructure Challenge, we have TACSO, which is a geodesic dome made of polymers to catch garbage that wind up in Lake Erie because of sewer overflow during storms. And that was a Cleveland team from 2019. And I'm really excited because one of our panelists is actually the creator and founder of this team, who I will introduce momentarily. So now that I've provided some information about Erie Hack, I'm so excited to introduce our panelists, starting with Mark App, who previously participated in Erie Hack and is the founder of Great Lakes Data Watershed. Next, I want to introduce Marite Ball, who have competed in the previous 2 Erie Hacks and is a current competitor of Erie Hack. She is the president of the Blue and Green Planet. And finally, as I had previously mentioned, I want to introduce Thomas Zhang of Buckminster Fuller, Sadao and Zhang Architects, and he was the winner of the 2019 Erie Hack. So I will go ahead and dive into some of our questions. First up, and I know I've brought up a little bit of your involvement with Erie Hack, but I'd love to hear a little more about when you first got involved about Erie Hack. And as you're telling us when you first got involved with Erie Hack, I'd love to hear about the innovations that you came across through, that you created through your Erie Hack, that you came across over the past 3 Erie Hacks. So why don't we start with Marite?
Yes, great. So I've been a member of a Cleveland Water Alliance for several years because my company, Blue and Green Planet, is about accelerating solutions in the blue side and the green side. So when they started the Erie Hack, I felt, I needed to be a part of that. And I had a client at that time called Well Water System. And we brought a team of people, actually 2 of the people that met there starting to do business together. We didn't win, and we started at the quarterfinal stage. Now, the 2 years later, actually, I was able to go to the semifinal with another company that I met at the Erie Hack 2 years prior. So there's a continuity, which is very exciting. And then, as you said, I want to go for the final this time, and we'll be going with the R&A team, really for surface water quality. And I can talk about that later.
Yeah, 3rd time's the charm, right, Marite?
Right.
What about you, Mark? Tell us a little bit about your previous experiences and your innovations. You're on mute, Mark.
Sorry, I didn't unmute. I want to agree with Marite that, we're in the position of we didn't do that well when we did our hack, but it really led to a lot. And I think that's the exciting thing about it. To give you a little of my background, I was an analytical chemist. I also taught chemistry in high school at Bay High School, and this is way back. But then my career segued into something that seemed at the time more profitable, which was enterprise computing. So I've been an enterprise architect for major systems for many years. And at the point that I wanted to stop traveling, having a traveling consultant's life, I happened upon an introduction to the Erie Hack for 2019, and I thought, wow, this is interesting. I could combine my interest and knowledge about computers and high performance systems with something I care deeply about, which is water quality and chemistry and that kind of thing. So that kind of combination kind of put me into the hack in 2019. And what we saw as the major problem where was a data problem, is that we had a lot of data that was being generated, and we even had publicly funded projects that were getting data through public money, and it wasn't going to a place that it was easy to use. So our focus is on making data accessible and easy to use by the public. And so that was 2019. Again, we didn't do that well, but we as far as the hack goes, but all the connections that were provided, and that's a great thing, the people you meet, all the kind of collaboration that went on really encouraged us to keep moving ahead. And currently in the 2021 hack, we're serving as mentors and really enjoying that role. And I think in that role as mentors, we're actually clarifying our direction. You know, it's given us another exposure to the industry and a number of people. And I think it's helping to clarify the direction that we're going to be finalizing with the Great Lakes Data Watershed. That's gldw.org. So that's it in a nutshell.
Thanks, Mark. And Thomas, you won Erie Hack in 2019, and I see a tiny prototype of your innovation like right behind you, if you also want to share that. But please tell us what your innovation is.
Okay, I'd like to start first, if you don't mind, from the whole down to the particular. And the whole is we all know, this beautiful blue ocean that we have. We call the oceans and the water. And we all know that about 25% of our blue planet, and I love the idea that we call it a green city and a blue lake. Blue, to me, connotes clean. And that's 75% of the ocean is salt. And of that, only 20% is clean, and only less than 3% is potable water. Out of that 3% is the Great Lakes, and we have 20% of this clean water. Wow, that is astonishing, and we're right in the middle of it. So to have Clean Water Alliance talk about this, it just generates all kinds of enthusiasm, because they aren't making Great Lakes anymore. And having said that, this invention came about because we recognized that in Cuyahoga County alone, 330 million gallons of water comes from highways, sewers, and streets, and they go right into the lake unimpeded. And it's because people can't be able to take care of it. Thank goodness we have the Cleveland Regional Sewers, as we all know, the big dig, $2 billion. They're doing something, Detroit's doing it, but there are other cities that don't have that. So this water comes from the sewers, from the we call it stormwater sewers. And stormwater goes right out, and it takes out dead animals, it takes out plastic, which weighs nothing, and a lot of COVID needles, unfortunately, because as you know, we have a lot of drug problems. And I said, we've got to figure out some way to capture this water when the material that's in the water, which is basically trash and plastic. So we came up with a idea of two geodesic domes, and the outer one is not a dome, but it's actually an octagon. We used an octagon because you can take the one stem of the octagon, you can make it as big as small as you want to, depending on the size of the community, and you can even put a whole bunch of them together. And then the inside one is actually the what we call the Colander. It's the same thing that your mothers and we use to wash vegetables. You just pick up the colander, and that colander then gets put into a trash bin. So this is if you can see, it's maybe a little too close to model. You just pick up the colander, you just take it, it's a bottom that opens up, and it's just the trash. And the trash is picked up by the same companies that now pick up trash in Republic or Kimball, any other thing. So we make it very, very easy and very, very inexpensive. So the bottom part of the colander stays in Lake Erie. It stays there all the time. It gets tied down. And then you can see here, this is where the sewer goes into here, stormwater sewer. And in there, of course, we have what we call the colander issue. So it's very, very inexpensive. The outer one is made out of plastic, so it doesn't hurt this beautiful blue lake that we call Lake Erie and all the other lakes. And this is the one that comes in and out and takes out all the trash. And this comes out for the wintertime. We're right now in the process of doing 2 prototypes. We call it the proof of concept. And one is near the SS Cod. And I think we all know it gets this great, beautiful artifact from World War II. And we throw out in Memorial Day this laureate to think of the soldiers and the sailors that have lost their lives. And meanwhile, right next to it is a 12-inch drain. And you see all this trash coming out, plastic bottles and stuff like that, along with this memorial. So it's kind of really an embarrassment. So that's one. And the other one is Cleveland Metro Parks, who've been so helpful. So we're doing a test one there at the 55th Marina. So we have 2 test models going on in the spring. And thanks to Cleveland Water Alliance and a lot of other people who are getting going with this test of what we call the proof of concept. And after that, we can get on to the other ones. The other thing about this is that, as somebody said, this is low tech, which means we can create a lot of jobs around here. And it can be used for so many communities up and down the thing. Joyce Burke-Jones, who's a planner, she figured out that there's like 83 small communities that don't have large sewer systems that has the capacity to pick up all these stormwater trash, just like, as I said, Detroit and Cleveland Regional Sewer. They're spending $2 billion, I'm sorry. So this can be helpful to them, and it's very, very inexpensive. We're trying to clean up the lake as best we can in this small mini way, and we just call it the TAXO, Trap and Contain Stormwater Objects. So thanks to CWA and the Erie Hack, we entered the competition, and we were fortunate enough to win, and feel very helpful that I can give something to the community, so much so that we're taking some of these proceeds, we're going to put it back to CWA, because they not only deserve it, but they're going to be around for a long time, and much longer than I'm going to be, and to help this place keep this beautiful blue lake clean. Thank you.
Thank you, Thomas. And could you show us the prototype again?
I think, do you have it there? If you
I don't, I'm not. Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay. I'm
Yeah.
going to get as far away as I can then.
No, it's amazing. I just want to point out
There it is.
that
Okay.
there's a
So
trap door, correct?
this is where
and-
as some of you know, if you drive along Lake Erie on the southern side, you see all these pipes coming out. They're anything from 10 inches to 12 inches to 18 inches. And you can't miss them. They're just these big pipes, big black pipes coming out. Black pipe will come into here, okay? So you see these things here. So this goes into the lake, and it's going to stay there, tied down, as you tie down anything else. And it's basically made out of, I hate to use the word plastic, but it is plastic. So it doesn't hurt the bacteria, because we don't want aid to kind of like doctors to, do no harm. So we want to do no harm with the base of the invention. But this is the colander. This is the one that we use, that we pick up.
Yeah.
The
And there's
first,
a
it's
Thomas,
less
this
than 8 feet.
trap
okay?
door, correct?
Got a trap door on the bottom, just opens up. You just pull it, and you just take it to the truck, and there's a truck waiting, and you can see this little handle, and you pick it up. And this outside is 8 feet. That's because that's the size of panel trucks that can go out right now. This is about 7 feet, so it's very easy to take out and drop into, and it just drops on top of the same garbage trucks that we now use, Kimball, Republic, all this. So we're giving them business. So we're not taking away anything from. What's important is that in here, it'll probably be picked up maybe once or twice a summer at the most, because of how much junk it's going to have in there. And you can see it's all open on the side so that the water can come out. So yes, we're going to trap dead animals. We're going to trap a lot of plastic, and we're going to trap needles, and these needles are now coming back and washing onto store. So if you go to the Edgewater Park, you see these kids digging up with sand with their little shovels, little 3-year-old kids. Oh, look, mommy, look what have I got there. What they have in their hands is opiate needles. I said, God, that's really dangerous. We're going to do something about it. So this is our little answer, and we call it TAXO, Trap and Contain Stormwater Objects. It's just for stormwater. And so if you put 4 of these together, you can see it very easily. You can put them, and we'll have their own little trap, and I call it the the pogue trap, and as you can see, it's only an octagon, so you can change it from any size you want to by just the leg of it, and which you can make it small as big as you want to, and we're just trying to keep it so it's easy to put onto a truck. And so we said it's 8 feet, and the prototype, as I said, will be coming up this spring, one at 55th Street Marina, thanks to Cleveland Metro Parks, and the other one's going to be put up near the SS Cod, and the veterans and all the Veterans Service Commission people are really pretty excited that we're trying to clean up that part of the lake, particularly because everybody sees the SS Cod, and it's embarrassing. So,
thanks. And as Thomas had mentioned, that his little prototype is tiny in comparison to what the real one will look like.
Yeah.
What I want to, and he answered what was going to be my next question was, where is your innovation now? But I'd love to throw that to Mark. You mentioned a little bit about how you're currently a mentor and how Erie Hack is helping to continue provide that exposure to Great Lakes Data Watershed and your innovation around data. So I'd love to hear a little more about where you currently are now and what you would like to see with Great Lakes Data Watershed in the coming years.
Yeah, so the Great Lakes Data Watershed, to be clear, I have a company, it's a for-profit company, but what we're doing is kind of, I would classify as a benefit corporation. So we're doing work that we believe is valuable. We're not a nonprofit, to clarify that. But the Great Lakes Data Watershed is a place where all our data to go and where it can be easily accessed. And the major problem with this is getting it in a common format, a way that people can easily get in there and get it. So what we do is we have data from the USGS, National Data Voice Center. We're working on getting data from GLOS, various instrument manufacturers, and we're pulling all that data in, and some of that has harmful algae bloom data and that kind of thing. And then we provide a very easy way to access it, that almost anybody, you could sit down in an hour and access the data that we put out there in the Great Lakes Data Watershed. So what we found is part of our supporting the hack, the current hack, is there's a lot of people that are programmers that want to help with the lake problems. And by providing a platform where they can get this data real easily and build dashboards with it and provide insight into it, we're really enabling them to kind of contribute to our, our lake, insight into our lake. So we're providing that, and we're also providing the educational opportunity for them to learn about how you would access this data, what kind of programming techniques you can use to do that. So the combination of what we're doing is providing access, very easy access to the data, and making it possible for individuals to get access. And we're at a point now where we're adequately funded to keep moving forward. We're looking, ultimately, we're looking for some kind of additional support so we can broaden what we do. But we're adequately funded to keep moving ahead, having workshops, supporting individual hackers and individual programmers that want to build dashboards to give insight into the lake. I'd like, if I could, one thing, just give one example. A lot of times when we think about citizens in science, we think of people who will go out and do measurements and give them to people that would act as laboratory technicians. What we're trying to do by making this data accessible to everyone, we're trying to turn citizens, students into scientists. So essentially, we're making the data so readily available and so powerfully available that they can begin to look at being on that end of contributing to our knowledge about the lake. So we're enabling everybody to become a bit of a scientist by providing the data in a way that they can use it very readily. So that's the summary. And our work is really to support, I don't want to say citizen scientists, because often that's identified as somebody that goes out in the field and does some measurements. We want to make citizens real scientists by enabling them to use the data that we're all paying for eventually. We're paying, through our publicly funded projects and stuff. So we're trying to make all that data that they should have access to, give them access to it, and to provide insights into it.
Thanks, Mark. Okay, Marte. So you've done Erie Hack. This is going to be your third time. So I'd love to hear about your previous Erie Hack projects and, where they are now, and your current Erie Hack project and where y'all are now.
Yeah, so the first one, that was my first project, and I met people there. It was the well closed loop water system. And it was very, very exciting. And one of the participants who met us at the Erie Hack became part of this project. And the 2 years later, our team was called Copper Silver. And some of you that were judges might remember. So Copper Silver, it was so exciting. You can actually get rid of bacteria in buildings with no chemicals. And actually the 9 hotel in Cleveland has that technology. So we went to the semifinal in Detroit. However, I think we were a little off topic by the judges. They didn't, I think, get it as much. So that's fine. It was a learning experience. However, my first client and second client 2 years later are working together and making a difference for the environment. So the excitement right now, I'm actually working with Eco, which is a startup out of Austin, Texas. They won the Mass Challenge in Texas. They won $180,000, number one, a few years ago, and they needed somebody to scale up their technology. So through Cleveland Water Alliance, actually, I was recommended to join their team. And we're bringing ECO, which stands for Environmental Quality Operations, and Veriset, which is actually a California company, with the coordination of Blue and Green Planet. And we are pitching RNA. So everybody knows about RNA, unfortunately, because of COVID. Well, what happens is that RNA hasn't been up to now been able to be captured and preserved in aquatic systems. So it is really a breakthrough. So our team is called RNA Power for a reason, and we are tackling surface water quality, and we are using that technology for early detection of indicator for harmful algae blooms. And so I think which is the biggest, seriously, one of the biggest problems, not only in Lake Erie, the Great Lakes, and globally. Unfortunately, harmful algae blooms are just popping even everywhere, even in Utah now, in places that you would, were so pristine. So anyway, so very excited. And we really think we work with mentors. Mark was one of them, several mentors, and I highly recommend everybody, of course, to join, but the quality of the mentorship and also the diversity of the perspective from mentors is extremely valuable to any team or any company. So very grateful and very excited, as you can tell. The energy that you get from doing a hackathon, and especially the Erie Hack, is really awesome. And nowadays with the gloom and doom, it's nice to have the energy to be able to do all these great things together.
And speaking of, like Erie Hack and the connections you make, could you speak a little further on how Erie Hack has impacted your professional or personal life?
Yes, I mean, basically, it's helping my clients, that are come to me to accelerate their technologies. And what is very important, it's giving them the exposure, that the Erie Hack, which is not only a Great Lakes event, but also some global connections. And one of the biggest challenge of new technologies is the barrier to entry. You often compete with mammoth organizations. You are, vying for attention in a crowded space. You need to bring the credibility, which actually the Erie Hack really helps bring, because you can get, more team members, mentors, big supporters. So really what the Cleveland Water Alliance does in general, but the Erie Hack is really critical to the acceleration of new technologies that need a forum to be able to get the exposure and the support.
I wonder if I could add something to that. I think what I've found is the real and unbelievable value is to all the introductions that Cleveland Water Alliance has given me over the years. So it's, we may not have won. We did win a prize, and it really encouraged us. But the real thing is that, we could reach out to somebody at the Cleveland Water Alliance and say, we need some resource in this area. We'd like to talk to this person. And people don't generally answer my phone calls, but they don't always answer my phone calls. But, they definitely, when we got Cleveland Water Alliance giving us an introduction, we got talking to people that we needed to.
Yeah. Thanks for adding on to that, Mark. What about you, Thomas? How has Erie Hack impacted your personal or professional path, or on a broader scale, Cleveland Water Alliance?
I'm going to come back to one thing, and that's I keep thinking about. In 1903, two brothers from Ohio went into a little bicycle shop, and they flew, as we know, the Wright brothers airplane. 66 years later, very short time, not even one lifetime of a person, we were up on the moon in 1969. So 66 years, just a short time. So I am so proud and so pleased to be with Erie Hack and with Cleveland Water Alliance, because we have to start someplace. To me, the Erie Hack competition starts someplace. Every one of us was a winner. I've said one of us had to get the grand prize winner, but as far as I'm concerned, we were all winners. I sat there, I listed all these people. The only thing I wish we could do, that we found some foundation that would do the post Erie Hack, so we would get to each other and get to be able to network a little bit more on each other, not as a basis that we're competing against each other, but that we're all together, because we're all together in this one this world we call Spaceship Earth. And that's one thing I wish we could do, so I could get to know Mark better, I could get to know Felicia better, I could get to know all these other people, so we could exchange some ideas, and perhaps somewhere along the line, some foundation will get all us together, those of us that were in Erie Hack 1, 2, and 3, and just exchange each other's information, because it's so valuable. And we can really help each other, because we're all together in one Spaceship Earth. But that's how I feel. Thank you.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I know there are so many challenges out there in, the sustainability world. And I really like that perspective of how quickly technology can change and how quickly some of these greatest challenges can hopefully be solved. And it's just a very optimistic perspective.
Yeah, Felicia, who would have thought in 66 years going from the Wright brothers' little flappy little things to the moon? Come on, get with it. And we can do the same thing in Lake Erie. We can do it from Cleveland. We have the potential. We have the brain power. As far as I'm concerned, we really have the knowledge, and we just need to just exchange it with each other.
Yeah, and with participants and mentors and partners like you all, I truly believe that we can create that water tech innovation ecosystem right here, starting from Cleveland. Okay, another question I have, and possibly the last question, is why water? And we'll start with Thomas.
Did you ask me?
Yes, why water?
Because we can live without air maybe 5 minutes at the most. You can't live without water for a couple of days. So that's two of the most important things that humanity needs to have, is clean water. And we all know that the poor people in Africa, they're dying because they don't have any water at all. And here we have 20% of the fresh water of the entire world. And so we can't keep messing it up by throwing garbage into it. And as far as I'm concerned, some of the things that go into the stormwater is unfortunately garbage. So the other thing that we have done, which is so important, is that part of our team was 2 students. One was from Case Western Reserve, and one was the Cleveland Institute of Art. And we continue that I'm still mentoring with them. And in our project, as I think you know, Felicia, part of our project is that when we take the colander out, we're going to have students, actually students, and we're going to pay them to see how much is plastic, how much is dead animals, how much is plastic bottle, how much, so we can actually codify it and let people know and let the students go back and get a little bit of money, not a lot, but a lot, and to go back to the students and say, oh, look, I was with this group and this is what we found. Look at all this crap that I found that we found from Lake Erie and how we can help clean it up. So we can kind of engage these students in a one-to-one basis, and at the same time educate them on how we can keep Lake Erie clean. And to me, that's the most important thing, and pass it on. So thank you.
And then we can work with Mark with all that data.
Yeah. Well, for me, water was an interest because I was an analytical chemist specializing in water for a number of years. But I think getting back to the fact that when you travel out west and you look at the parched landscape and the fires, you realize how incredibly important water is and what a unique place on earth it is to live around the Great Lakes. So we sometimes don't appreciate, we get used to all this green and cheap water and stuff. And, when you get exposed to many other places in the world, you realize this is an incredible resource. And the fact that we treat it so badly sometimes is just appalling. I was watching a show where they're talking about, well, let's pipe, maybe we should build a pipeline and pipe it out to California. And they say, heck no, because, you charge what? You charge $70 for a acre foot of water for your agriculture. And we pay a lot more than that for air, and we're going to give you our water. So I think, part of it is a political thing that we need to realize how important this resource is to us and how much we need to cherish it and make the best use of it we can.
Yeah, so when Mark, you mentioned that, and then there's a book called The Water Wars that I don't want to read because it's too scary. But I read recently and it was very reassuring to me that actually it's extremely expensive. It would be too expensive to transfer water to California. It's even almost impossible from a technology standpoint with the Rocky Mountains and everything. So that was actually reassuring because they're trying to steal, but it doesn't make any sense and you can't probably even do it. So, however, the point is, yes, we need to keep our water clean. We need to stop the pollution and then we need to restore it. The pollution in there, the invasive species, what happened, for instance, to Texas. I know it's a different region, but with extreme weather, it stirred up the bottom of their lakes and brought toxicity up and killed dogs. Which people know Austin, Texas. Their dogs are really part of the family, and we care, but also people. So the toxicity that is being exacerbated with global warming is increasing. And so our resources right now, although we have actually, it's 21% of the reserve fresh water to be exact, is at risk. I mean, people, as you know, the Toledo crisis, 400,000 people were without water, and the reassuring thing is that a lot has been done. And the Great Lakes organizations have worked on it, so we haven't had a Toledo crisis yet again, thank God. However, that's where I'm so excited about the RNA technology. Now there's ways to use RNA for biosecurity and earlier detection. And that is, to Thomas, that is an accelerator of technology and solving real problems. And it's actually transferring cancer research knowledge to the aquatic system. So very exciting. Water is life, and we need to keep it clean and clean it up. The ones that's dirty already. Thomas is doing.
Thanks for reassuring me that those Californians aren't going to get our water.
Yes, that was so reassuring.
And Mark and Felicia, we were kidding in our little team. We said, well, what's our motto? Our motto is very simple. Let's trap that crap. And so we kind of laughed about it. But at the same time, what you're saying about Toledo and Mark, some of the other things you're saying, we can do something about it. And that's the beauty part about it, that we can do something about if we have the will. And I think we will have the will because we have agencies like Cleveland Water Alliance and some of the other people. And just, and again, I can't say enough about Erie Hack 3 and Erie Hack 4 and however number you're going to go into to get these scientists and thinkers and creative people together and exchange this idea, because we have only one spaceship Earth. We have only one Lake Erie. They ain't making it anymore. They just aren't. As you say, Mark, it's such a valuable tool that we have. And at one time, we're throwing crap into it. And the other hand, we're sending people out and getting beautiful Lake Erie perch, and we're fishing of it. Who wants to eat out of a toilet bowl? It doesn't make any sense at all. So thank you, Cleveland, I can say.
Thank you for such all those kind comments. And one thing I really want to point out, though, is how different y'all's experiences were around Erie Hack and your solutions around Erie Hack. Like, we have, a more biological solution when it comes around to Marte, and Thomas's solution has more of an architectural background in trapping. And Mark, with your data. And I think it's like crucial that all these different solutions, we find a way to like work together. And I think that speaks to what Cleveland Water Alliance is trying to do around Lake Erie and the Great Lakes, but having all these different solutions to work together so that we really can protect Lake Erie and, have it remain a great lake. Any other comments and thoughts?
Thank the mayor for having this forum, because without the forum, we couldn't have been talking about this, the four of us and the six of us. So Mayor Jackson, thank you.
Merci.
Yeah, thanks. Appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah.
Awesome. I would love to open it up to any questions from the audience over the next 10 minutes. If not, yes, please use the chat to type your questions. So here we have a question. As the cost/value of clean water increases in the future, how do you envision that money will be spent? How do you envision money being spent in innovative ways, if not transferring it to California?
One thing I think that we can do is completely instrument the movement of water a little better, and this gets into the data item. I think if you think about it, all the water usage, this is one thing that came up talking to people about hacks. Suppose you could not do your heavy water task when you knew there was a rainstorm and the storm sewer system was already overburdened. That could save a lot of money. So there's ways, if we can instrument the usage in the home or understand, what that is, combine that with the weather information, we can much better, more effectively manage, that runoff going to the lake. And I'm sure Thomas has better insights into that. But that's one thing that came up. And, to me, it's about more data. That's where I'm at.
Yeah. Mark, you bring up an interesting point. We have building codes, as we all know, that we have to follow for whatever reason, some political and some that social and some because they really make a lot of sense. One of the things is that we've been talking about, a lot of people, the architects in particular, talking about gray water. When we talk about gray water, you can you could do it by code, by the way. Let's take a high-rise building. All the water that you use from your WC, the water closet, brushing your teeth and things like that. So that water could be gray water and used again for for the thing that's right next to you, and it's called a toilet bowl. So you can actually use it because what are you doing with the other one? You're just flushing down your, number one and number two. You don't really need fresh water. You just want to flush it out. So why not use gray water? So this can actually be done actually, I hate to say it politically, but by building codes to say, look, all high-rise buildings with so much blah, 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 must go use gray water, go into some kind of a tank, and then have that gray water be from your water closet. So, I mean, that's something very, very simple. It doesn't smell or anything like that because it's water that you use in brushing your teeth and things like that. And from your shower, from your shower and bath water. So that's a lot of water, much, much more water than the 2.5 gallons that they've now. It used to be 5 gallons when I showed you how old I am. And now it's like 2.5 gallons for your WC water closet. So that's a lot of simple way to save water in a very, very easy way. And it would help the landlords also because you get tapped for how much water you use, as we know. When you get the water bill from the Cleveland Public Utility Building, they tap you for how much water you use. So this is saving some water too. So you're saving money on the one hand, you're helping the environment, which is really important, but you're doing both. You're making sense with an S and you're making sense with a C. So this is something that can be done very, very simply by a building code. And it's not hurting and I'm not trying to hurt the little person that has the 1 or 2 bedroom suite that you have. I'm not hurting them. I'm talking about these big high-rise buildings that have the money that can do something with it. And so that is much, much easier than to do a 1 or 2 family building. I think that's just something.
Yeah, and I'd like to add, and actually there's another competitor that I met at the Erie Hack 2 years ago. He's competing on it with his own team. There are very inexpensive ways to improve water quality using nature-based solution. You can actually remediate soil by and actually capturing nitrogen and phosphorus by several crops. One of them is biomass sorghum that I'm truly in love with because it actually captures 4 times the equivalent as a tree. And that's been validated by the University of California, Berkeley. But the point is that we have all the solutions today, all the solutions to make this planet, this city definitely has this planet, healthy again. What we're missing is the acceleration of the commercialization of those technologies. But they do exist. And so kudos to the Erie Hack to do that. And I think we need to do a green hack as well, and maybe a blue-green act, because the blue and the green do mix. The nature-based solutions are there to help. So yes, I'll stop there.
Good idea.
An air hack. I love that. So another question we've gotten is when we think of the economic opportunity presented by our access to an abundance of fresh water, how do we balance the industry and consumption impacts with our goals to improve ecosystem services to help maintain clean water quality here in Cleveland?
Maybe I'll take a crack at that question again. I think we can. For example, you can plant crops, and actually the University of Akron has been involved with that. You can plant crops by industrial sites or even treatment water plants to be able to avoid all those trash or pollution to get into the lake. So a nature barrier can really help. And as you know, if you plant, green plants, it helps the soil erosion, right? It avoids the soil erosion, so that you don't get these erosions in the lake. So really, the balance is nature with the industrial economies working together to put those ecosystem that nature has, for millennia and millennia, has perfected. The nature is the most efficient, ecosystem if we let it work, instead of disrupting it. But we can work together with the industry that is bringing the jobs that we all need. It's not in conflict. It's actually, again, this concept of super collaboration, which is something, I learned the term at the Global Forum for Business as an Agent of World Benefit. It's not collaboration, it's super collaboration. And this is what the Erie Hack does, where you bring all those parties, all those insights, all those age groups, and we can do it. It's actually not that hard. We need funding though, and we need to accelerate the commercialization of these things.
Can I ask a question maybe of the other panelists, but is there a way, should we be putting a price tag on water usage so that, part of what you're saying is, I think it's a zero-sum game, that it's not a zero-sum game. We can conserve, we can build wetlands, we can use the water better, and at the same time have industry. But it doesn't seem like people plan that way. And is there some way of creating financial incentive or building code incentives or whatever, or some approach that makes sure that happens? Because we always hear regulations bad, and we need to get rid of regulations for business. But in reality, we realize that this and other things, regulation might help or might save, as you said, make sense and save cents.
I can take a crack at that. So you might hear about carbon pricing, which is, by the way, the fastest way. Within 9 months, if you implement carbon pricing, you can see a reduction of emission. Why? Because the nature market dynamics would take care of themselves. You don't need tons of regulation. The industries that pollute the most are going to be very creative to reduce, the carbon tax. Maybe we need to think about a water tax, and I don't like tax pricing, and water pricing that is not tons of regulations that we don't have time to implement, and then it's too cumbersome. And then but a system, to your point, that rewards good use of water and penalize the pollution of water, just like with carbon pricing.
Mark, I'm going to come back to something that you had mentioned, both of you had mentioned about pricing. It would not be that difficult to put a meter into just like you have electric meters, water meter in your own individual home or an apartment house. You can see immediately that I'm going to go back to this old idea again. If you took the shower water and your bath water and your brushing your teeth water, if you actually could put a meter on that goes into your toilet bowl, you can see how much less water you're using, which is immediately put onto a dollar value, because you pay for water by a dollar value. That's how they charge you, the sewer and the water department. So you could see it immediately. It's almost like a temperature gauge. You can see it immediately how much money you're saving. Now, if somebody's going to say, "Wow, if I do that, look how much money I'm saving." So that goes back again going. So it makes a lot of sense from our ecological and what we care about in our panel, but also makes a lot of sense how much pennies you're going to be saving. It's going to be amazing how much money you can be saving in 1 year by just reusing gray water. It's so simple to do, and it would not cost very much. And I'd like to see somebody doing a poly project on that one, maybe from Brian Stubbs and his wonderful people at Clean Water Alliance, because it's just a little meter. It just shows you how you can use it, and you don't have to have a lot of land or anything like that to be able to save this water. You could probably save it in probably some large 55, not 55, but maybe a couple of 55-gallon drums out in the basement, just reuse it again. It's not a big deal. It's just something to prove to people how much you're saving, how much money you're saving, even if they don't believe in ecology. Look how many pennies they're saving. And it shows up that way. I think that's something we should look at.
I've also seen ideas through my work at Cleveland Water Alliance where people, like within a neighborhood, you have competitions on who can use up the least amount of water. And if it's publicized, it incentivizes people to use less water. Okay. But
can I add one thing to that? Actually, the Great Lakes Data Watershed, we have integration, meaning we can read data from flume meters and Streamlabs meters, which are home installable meters you can put in your house to measure the water usage. The Northeast Ohio Cleveland Water, is instrumented already, but you can't get the data for public use. But I mean, the instrumentation is almost already there for most things.
Mhm.
Yeah. So transitioning to the next question, teaching people solutions to clean water, simple things like not putting trash on the ground, to keep it out of storm drain pipes flowing in Lake Erie, to potential backflow issues in premise pumping. That's like all of that is a huge challenge. So how people to care to learn about resources and technology that exist?
I think that's what the Erie Hack is doing. The education comes by the exposure and basically the not only the people participating, but all the press or the communications that you're going to do around it. And because it's an exciting and competition. I mean, there's a lot of data into when people compete. There's an excitement. This is a good forum for that, and when you do educate, that way.
I think, like, from my perspective, I am actually originally from Texas, and every time I looked at the map of the Great Lakes, they never looked that big until I came here and was like, it's an ocean. But it really is about like educating, because like until my work with Cleveland Water Lines, I don't think I had any idea how
Can I make a pitch for somebody that works? The Metro Parks I've worked with a lot, and the Watershed Stewardship Center is just a great resource for educators and scientists to find out more. Not, I don't know, scientists, but it's a great resource where they do have a lot of information regarding the watershed.
Yeah. Next question. From an environmental angle, have groundwater cleanup technologies been considered? Example, petroleum or dry cleanup contaminated water cleanup programs.
I'm not aware of any top of mind, but that's certainly, I mean, we know the spill up, but actually Verisat, which is competing, and the RNA Power was involved into identifying if the BP oil spill several years ago was, what did it do to the environment? So, but yes, I mean, oil. Yeah, that's pollution.
Just as a clarification, they meant dry cleaning solvents.
Oh,
Yeah. If anyone else has anything to add on that.
well, I mean, yes, I don't think there's enough protection of what gets into the lakes. So any water of, there's just, we need to be more stringent with what we let, go and penalize the polluters. And I like to incentivize the ones that do good too. So finding, but I think that he's definitely right. This is a serious problem with chemicals that we don't think of getting into our water supply.
Right. We lost Thomas, but I'll go ahead and ask this next question. How do we help the poor from not having their water turned off?
Yeah, that's just, I mean, I think ideally water should be free. We know that's not, but I think the right to water is like the right to clean air. And so it is a very serious issue, and we have to tackle that. I mean, it's just people and planet, right, together. It's, why do we care about the planet? Because we care about the people on the planet, right? Planet Earth is fine. It's the people suffering on the planet that we need to take care of.
Well, I agree. I think clean water should be a right. The question of anyone, one of the concerns is, when it's used indiscriminately, like in California, where big ag can pay $70 for an acre foot of water. How do you rein that in? But it should be available to every individual, clean and safe water.
Yes, I agree. I mean, so that the individuals need to have access to water, and then industries need to be better stewardship of water.
Yeah, someone pointed out, but clean water requires electricity, which in turn uses fossil fuels. So making it free is not that easy.
No,
And I wanted to,
no, it's a pipe dream.
it's not, it's hard.
But maybe a basic level of water, right? And then you know that. So is it 2:00? Are we supposed to end it?
Yes, but just one more question, last question. Have either of you utilized Kiva for funding for the new water quality businesses?
I have not.
Can you repeat that?
Have you utilized Kiva for funding for the new water quality businesses?
No,
No.
but I'd love to learn more.
Now that Thomas is back, I just want to quickly ask him that one last question. But how do we help the poor from not having their water turned off?
That's a good question. Say it again.
How do we help the poor from not having their water turned off?
That is a very, very good question. And I think one of the things that can be done, and I think it can be done at a local level, whether it's the public, I'm talking public assistance people that are giving money, food stamps and things like that. I think one of the things that they should be able to have is that they have access to water, because you have all these different things that they can and cannot do in a grocery store. And they say you can't buy liquor, you can't buy cigarettes like that, but you can do this, this, and this. I think one of the things, the ingredients that I think the federal government and local governments can all say is that one of the things that they should be able to have is water. Just like we have to have air, you have to have water. And I see no reason why they couldn't add that certain stipulation in that credit card, because I've seen them use it in Dave's Supermarket and other places. And I asked them a question, things you're allowed to do, and they said, oh, you can do this, this, and this. And one of them is that they can have, like, I didn't know it, they can help pay their electric bills. So I think they can help get water. I think that's a political process, but it's just something I thank you for asking, because I've thought about that in a different context. I don't know if that's an answer, but it's something.
Well, thank you all. And for this panel, I know we're a little over time, so I will throw it back to Kristen.
Awesome. Well, I just want to give, just a quick virtual round of applause to all of our presenters, Felicia Ontero from Cleveland Water Alliance for facilitating this great discussion. Really appreciate you taking the lead on that. Mark App, Marite Ball, and Thomas Sung, again, really appreciate this. This has been a great session. I mentioned in the chat, we do have a session tomorrow on plastics in our water, which came up in this session. So, if this is an interesting topic for you, I encourage you to please join us again tomorrow. Lots of great sessions tomorrow. So with that, we will close this out, and we look forward to seeing you all very soon. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Can I
Thank you,
add
Kristen.
one more thing real quick?
Of course, yes, please.
Check out more information about Erie Hack on eriehack.io and follow us on Twitter, especially since Marite is actually competing at tomorrow's Cleveland quarterfinals. And be sure to also check out Erie Hack on November 4th for semifinals. Maybe you'll catch Marite there. We'll see. And November 18th is also when our finals is. So again, check all that out, and you can learn more about the incredible innovations that these folks have been working on.
Thank you.
Awesome. Patty,
Thank you.
Thank you,
there's a
Kristen,
link
and the mayor.
to.
Thank
Oh,
you,
of
Kristen,
course.
and thank you to the mayor for having this forum. Really, really fantastic. Thank you, Kristen.
Awesome. Thank you, Thomas. We do have a link to Erie Hack in the chat, and we'll be getting the word out via Sustainable Cleveland as well. So just keep your eyes and ears peeled, and have a great afternoon, everyone.